of the best damn interviews for professional and independent wrestling that you've ever heard.
And I'm Joe Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts, keep your arms in the vehicle at all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride. What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday night. That means one thing and one thing only, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the world's greatest professional wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee. Man, we have a great show for you tonight. We've got the High Spot segment. We got the Shoot and Shout segment. We got the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. We got the Fantasy Wrestling segment. If that's not enough, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Matt Roblez coming on and Tom Simon. It's going to be absolutely
a good one.
Amazing. I legit cannot wait for this show to come on. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And so, Timmy, if you could please play that intro for you know who.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? Loyal members of the Wrestle.
Will be with us very, very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we have an absolute amazing show tonight. It's going to be all kinds of fun. Man, so much stuff has been going on in pro wrestling.
What up, Facebook Live? Thank you for being here for episode 302 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Hang with us as you watch the Facebook Live feed. If the feed cuts off for any reason, don't worry. Just go over there to WrestleTalkPodcast.com.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please hold and you will be able to listen to the show.
And we pay homage to the greatest country in the world, and that is America, damn it. And we cheer them out every single time. Night Owl, you with us?
Dude, I am. And as always, que pasa, que pasa, que pasa. Loyal members of the Wrestle Talk Familia. It is a pleasure to have you all here for episode 302 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Jonesy, great job handling the introduction. Shout out to all the people that are already checking us out via the Facebook Live. Quick shout outs real quick. Matt Stockdale, Eric Thornton, our boy Owen is in the house. Todd is in the house. Johnny Rocco and a few others that are already tuning in early on. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're grateful to you. And you know what, Joe? I'm really happy to be here today because just yesterday, sir, I celebrated my 36th birthday. And, dude, it was perfect. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of great people reach out to me directly, show me some love. We got a chance to talk to some family members and all that, dude. I cannot tell you how awesome it was. And then, you know, kind of to put a cherry on top, dude, my wife comes home with my very favorite pie, dude. Key lime pie. Whole thing, fresh off wherever. Dude, it was so good. The kids enjoyed it. And you know what? Give me an opportunity to reflect back on how awesome it is to be a part of the Wrestle Talk family, to be 300 episodes in, to have made so many great relationships in the sport of pro wrestling, bro. And you know what? 2020 has been a tough one for everybody, but we ain't done yet, and we're going to keep on ticking because we can take a licking, and we're going to give you guys a hell of an episode tonight, man. I am ready to go, Joe. Before we move any further, let me ask you, how have you been, bro? Everything been okay these last couple of days?
Everything has been absolutely amazing this past couple of days. I got a new championship belt. That's right. I'm looking at the Big Gold, which is my favorite championship. But I tell you what I don't like is the fact that for some reason Blog Talk Radio just decided to re-upload every single audio we have ever used. So do you know how long that I'm going to have to go through this to delete stuff that we don't need anymore? It's going to take forever.
Well, many would say you're overdue for a hard day work, Jonesy, so don't complain too much.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Hey, that wasn't me. I said many would say. They say. Who is they? I don't know. Well, guess what, guys? Episode 302 is going to be off the chain. We want you guys to participate in the show. I see there's already people sharing. If you're one of those people, remember, we're giving away merch now. If we catch you as one of the people that share it on the shows, there's a good chance I'll reach out to you directly and ship you out a WWE t-shirt, Independent Pro Wrestling t-shirt, and action figure. We got tons of great stuff to give away. And if you're feeling super generous, thank you, Byron, for the like. Much loved, and thank you for checking us out. If you're feeling super duper generous, we don't ask you to donate money or give us anything for free. No, we want to give you something back in return, and that is the fully customizable first ever edition of the Wrestle Talk Podcast mug, courtesy of Rathbun Engraving. That's right, Scott Rathbun has done a great job for us for a very long time, customizing these mugs. This is our first ever series release, and you know what? $20 plus shipping with your name engraved on the bottom. T-shirts are great, but they're way too overpriced. The material is cheap. They shrink in the wash. And they only last you a handful of years if you like to wear them often, like I like to wear mine. A Wrestle Talk Podcast mug, Jonesy, proven to make your beverage, no matter what it is, taste 17.5% better. And if you're not a clumsy numbskull, it can last you a lifetime. That's my pitch, guys. More information on that by visiting WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Before we go any further, also, Esports Bar KC, Talking Dynasty, The Conspiracy Farm. We love you guys as well. Royals Mills Transportation. Hit up my boy Dewan for all your local travel needs here in Kansas City. And last and most definitely not least, our new sponsor, the fine folks over at Interstate 70 Sports Media. It's like Wrestle Talk flair, but not necessarily always wrestling. Football, baseball. Dude, they put up a poll the other day, Jonesy, about who was better, in your opinion, back during the 1998 season, Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire. Man, that one had me going back in the day, bro. I was thinking, and you know what? Even though I got a Sammy Sosa jersey, I gotta admit, bro, I was cheering for Mark McGwire back then. It was such an exciting time in sports. So if you love things like that, make sure you visit our boys over at I-70 Sports Media. Make sure you tell them the Wrestle Talk Podcast sent you. How's that sound, Jonesy? We ready to move on or what?
That sounds absolutely amazing. This past weekend, I was able to get a brand new Dan Marino jersey, never been worn, $15.
What, bro? Are you thrift store pimping, bro? Are you thrift store pimping?
It's called yard sales.
Yard sale pimping.
Brand new. Never even been opened. Still had the tags. $15. I was like, I'm not even a Dolphins fan, but I'm like, Dan Marino? Heck yeah, I'm going to take that. Yeah.
Well, you know what's great? I didn't even ask for this, but I've already got people in my messenger arguing about what kind of pie is better. All I said is I like key lime pie the best. This doesn't mean we have to start some sort of a cross-platform debate, okay? But if you guys want to argue about what kind of pie is best, I'm going to just tell you this. You're free to do that, but you're all wrong unless it's key lime pie.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, intro Timmy, if you could please hit that music and for the love of God, play the right song. Yeah, I love that entrance. I love that high spot song. So we do have quite a few things that we want to talk about during the high spot segment. And the one thing I wanted to talk about, and I came across this on my Facebook. This guy has a blog. It's called Bill's Brand New Blog. And this guy thinks that he punked Joey Janela. So Joey Janela made a Twitter comment that it says, no sports means no sports betting. Guess what? No problem. I got you gamblers covered. How long until Tammy Sitch ends back up in prison? Place your bets with me. To which the guy says, you're an idiot. Then he says, proving again why you are a moron. Thanks. Nice to see it doesn't take much for you to make an ass out of yourself. Joey Janela replies with always and forever. So, for one thing, you didn't punk out Joey Janela because all you did was just confirm that he was a idiot and he's basically a douchebag. Something that everybody already knew. Everybody knows that Joey Janela is a douchebag. So, you didn't really punk out Joey Janela. So I just thought that was funny that this guy thought that he was punking out Joey Janela by saying that he's a douchebag, and everybody already knows that on Twitter Joey Janela is a douchebag.
Yes, we are well aware that he is a douchebag, and I'll tell you what, man, it's something that's kind of awe-inspiring to me, how much heat these guys are able to get on social media. Like, it doesn't even have to do stuff that they do in the ring, and you know what? Kudos to them. Joey Janela's getting interaction from people in wrestling without actually wrestling a match. Kudos to him. I think that's absolutely outstanding. What I will also add is that, yes, you're right, he is an absolute douche, but bro, who's not taking that bet? We all know the history of Sonny. We all know the history of Sonny. As a matter of fact, your boy, right after Backlash ended, we decided to watch a little Royal Rumble, and bro, we were watching Royal Rumble 1994, and I'm not sure what part of her career this was, but she was relegated to officiating a mini luchador match during this Royal Rumble event. She didn't accompany Shawn Michaels, she didn't accompany anybody in the ring. She wasn't there with LOD. She was officiating a mini lucha match. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who did Tammy not blow? Did she forget to do it? Or what? Because she was refereeing a mini lucha match, bro. What the hell? I couldn't understand it. I was like, wow. I wonder what was the storyline that landed Sonny in this gem of a match. It was crazy. And you know what? The guy's probably right. The poor girl, she's had a rough go of it. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But if we're talking placing bets, Joe, I'm not taking that bet. I'm pretty sure she's going to be back in the Slammer before the end of 2020. I'm sorry, but that's just the way, that's what history tells me. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. Very, very true.
It is. It definitely truly is. So the other thing that I wanted to get into, and then we see get some of these callers. You want to call in 84. The number is 657-383-1521. That's 657-383-1521. And this is something we haven't actually been able to talk about yet. We've been wanting to, but we're so busy we haven't had a chance to. And this is the fact that Combat Zone Wrestling has been getting a lot of heat over the names of their pay-per-views. Now,
all right,
what has happened is Combat Zone Wrestling sold the rights to their pay-per-views to another group, and these groups are putting on monthly pay-per-views, but they're changing the names of the pay-per-views. For instance, they do a lot of women extreme wrestling, and usually it's just women extreme wrestling and then another title, but these people have changed the title to big-chested bimbos, and so a lot of the female wrestlers are insanely pissed off because of the fact that this company is putting up these videos with these titles that are leading fans to believe that these wrestlers are, like porn stars or something. For instance,
that should help. That should help with ratings. That should help with ratings.
Yeah. So one of them, Timothy, who actually wrestled in the WWE for NXT, says, "I'm certain I never signed an agreement giving you the right to sell my intellectual property, nor did any of the women you did your disrespect or how told us it wouldn't book us." And then there's another lady that says, "That hit hard. I won't book you on my show because I don't find you, excuse my French, fuckable. One of the main reasons I called you while still a student. And of course, what does Joey Janela do? Since we're still talking about Joey Janela, he comes back and he says, I was wondering if you guys had any information how I can prevent bitching in the kitchen, killers in the ring, and big-chested curvy female fighters go to housewives to hot, hardcore grapplers. Thanks. Jesus Christ, Joey Janela.
Jeez Louise. And by the way, Susie, I know you sent me a couple voice messages. I clearly can't listen to those right now. But type it out, and if you have something that is relevant to the show, I'll be more than happy to respond. But bro, you know what? People are going to do what they do. And to be honest with you, yeah, I do think it's a little disrespectful, especially because of how far professional wrestling has gone for women, especially in the last 5 to 7 years. But bro, you can't tell me that ain't funny. I mean, come on, right? Is it wrong to laugh about that now? Is it like, I don't know. I don't want to get canceled or whatever. But I think that's hilarious, though it is very, very disrespectful. And it's unfortunate because, like you said, some of these women, this is their life's work, right? And then for somebody to take it and make a mockery of it this way, I think it's a tough pill to swallow. But at the same time, I do have people... I do have other people asking me, Joe, if you could please share the link. So there's that. People want to see it. People want to see it, bro. Give us those names again, those pay-per-views again, one more time. What were the name of those pay-per-views?
It's stuff like big-chested bimbos, and it's like anything derogatory that is to a woman, and I understand why that they're doing it because, if you are searching through like in demand and you see big-chested bimbos, especially if you're like 16, 17 years old, you don't care how much it costs, you're going to click on it, So.
And I'll tell you what, somebody's going to hear about it here on the show, and they're going to go look for it. So I guess it worked. I guess it worked. All right, so 2 major debates that I want to bring up. Number one, I know this is not wrestling related unless you're talking about poo-tang pie. Thank you, The Rock. Okay? What is the best kind of pie? We want you to call in and cut a promo on what the best kind of pie is. If you're a member of the Wrestle Talk family, well, we're going to talk about that, Joe, because we already had Robert say apple, but I want to hear somebody call in and cut a promo on why their favorite kind of pie is the best kind of pie. Robert said apple. You said apple too, right?
No, I said cherry.
Cherry pie.
There's no debate.
Okay, well, there you go.
Any more American than cherry pie?
Well, isn't the saying, though, as American as apple pie? Isn't that the saying?
No, cherry pie.
Okay, well, that's how the saying goes. Pecan pie is my second favorite. But I want to see if you guys can do us a favor and dial 657-383-1521. And we also want to know, this is worth debating as well, was Edge versus Randy Orton the greatest wrestling match ever? Because when you put a label on a match like that, that's a lot to live up to. And usually, I reserve my opinion till the end, but I'm going to give you guys my opinion, because we got 10, 15 minutes to talk to you guys here during the High Spot segment. Which, by the way, go get yourself that mug over at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. $20 plus shipping with your name engraved on it. And here's my take on it. Yes, it was. But in the WWE universe, it was the greatest wrestling match of all time. In the WWE universe. Now, I'm prefacing it and adding that caveat to it. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, within this universe, this alternate universe that they create, which is the WWE universe, okay? It was. Because this is all fairly new. The WWE universe has been around, 10, 20 years, maybe? Maybe less. I don't know. But when you talk about taking 2 Hall of Famers. I know Edge isn't in the Hall of Fame, but it's a foregone conclusion. The impact of his return, the fact that Randy's still as good as he is this many years into his career, I think that's probably the best professional wrestling match that they could have put together with what they have today. Now, you could say, well, Renee, what if they had Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles or something like that? Those guys could have had the greatest professional wrestling match ever, but they didn't. Randy Orton and Edge did. And I don't want anybody to try to call in and make the assertion that the match was boring. Because if you thought the match was boring, then you weren't looking for a pro wrestling match. You were looking for Leg Slap University, okay, to take a line from Randy Orton. As far as traditional pro wrestling, the little I've been able to learn over the last couple of years, that is probably the best professional wrestling match that you're going to get from the WWE. I'm not saying it's the greatest pro wrestling match. Some people could say, hey, you know what? What about Omega and Okada? You know? There's a lot of other matches that can be brought up, Joe, but for what they have to offer, and as far as they've swayed from professional wrestling to the point where they don't even like to say wrestling anymore, up until recently, kudos to them, because it was always sports entertainment. Sports entertainment. I applaud them for that. And I really do believe it is the greatest pro wrestling match, maybe not ever, but that they could presently bring us as fans who have an appreciation for what pro wrestling used to be. Quite frankly, I don't know if there's 2 better people to have done it. And you know what? For people who get mad about WWE going from storyline to storyline, we had this thing going since January between Orton and Edge. So the in-ring action was absolutely incredible, far exceeded almost anyone's expectations. You come to find out that Edge had a torn ligament somewhere along the line inside that match, and the 6 months of build-up that they gave you. This is about as best as they can do to tell a traditional professional wrestling story in a match. So, am I going to go 100% ham and agree that this is the greatest professional wrestling match ever? No. But within their confines, within the WWE universe, I think it is. I don't think they could have done a better job. They picked the 2 perfect guys over a long period of time, and the match did not disappoint. It was wildly entertaining, and it really felt like a throwback. I mean, you heard them say it. This feels like, you know, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ric Flair. Like, it had those vibes. I dare anybody to call in and dispute my point, or if you agree, let's hear from you. 657-383-1521. And again, we've also got the heated debate going about what the best pie is. Jonesy, somebody just did a run-in with lemon meringue. I think we should boo them out of the building. Get out of here. Lemon meringue isn't even in the top 5 best pies of all time. Get out of here. That's nonsense. I don't want to hear any more of that. What else we got, Jonesy?
Oh, man, you know, there is so much stuff that we could talk about. You know, you were talking about the Edge versus Randy Orton match. I would have to say that the weirdest match that we saw from Backlash was the match between the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. Like, what the hell was that?
Bro, Viking Profits. The Viking Profits.
They went nuts. They were like, what the hell am I watching? Like it started off as a regular wrestling match, and then they had bowling, and then they had freaking 7-foot-tall ninjas and tentacles, and what? I don't know what exactly is going on. I would rather see a actual match between those 2 for the title, but I will say it's entertaining, and that's what WWE is looking for. They are looking to entertain, and it was definitely an entertaining match. So, what were your thoughts on that match?
Bro, I loved it.
That segment.
I loved it so much, and it's like WWE felt like they had to respond to Stadium Stampede, and they did a tremendous job.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. It was super fun. it extends the story between these two very credible tag teams. And let's be honest, as much talent as they have on their roster, Joe, right off the top of your head, can you name me another viable tag team on the Raw brand?
Austin Theory and Austin Theory and Buddy Murphy.
Okay, and some would argue that that's not necessarily a viable tag team, but okay, I'll give you that one. Can you name one more? Tough, huh? Real tough. Well, that's what I'm saying. We know that nothing comes to the top of our minds. Maybe the Authors of Pain will be back sometime soon. I don't know. That'd be cool to see. Maybe the Usos will be back. They'll come back on Raw. That'd be cool to see. But I know Jimmy's on his way to recovery. Recently had surgery. Get well soon. Jimmy Uso. But you know what, dude? The fact that they don't have an overabundance of great, well, not say they do have great guys. I just don't think they have great tag teams. The fact that they're able to extend this story, have them kind of become allies halfway through, I think is going to give us a great build-up to what I would imagine would be a Raw Tag Team Championship match at Extreme Rules. Does that not feel like what's building up to, Jonesy? Because I think that's what it's building up to.
Yes, I would definitely agree that is what they are building up to it, and until then, I am totally happy with what they've been doing. I just want to know who the hell that 7-foot tall ninja was.
Bro, he looked like Shaq.
That dude was huge.
He looked like Shaq.
He was a freaking monster.
He looked like Shaq. Well, hey, Jonesy, tap intern Timmy on the shoulder real quick, bro, because before we move on, we do have a little bit of breaking news. So if you could do me a favor, man, and hit that breaking news drop. We've got some news to share here tonight with the members of the Wrestle Talk family for episode 302.
Okay, Intern Timmy, can you hit that? Alright, so Intern Timmy is telling me that for some reason the breaking news drop was deleted for some reason. Intern Timmy's about to be fired.
No, listen, I don't think it was Intern Timmy. I don't think it was Intern Timmy. I think it was Blog Talk and their shenanigans once again. Well, anyway, let me go ahead and give you guys the news anyway. And we're going to get all the audio stuff fixed this week, right, Jonesy? This week, right away? Need to get that fixed. Okay, excellent. So here it is. According to reports, ladies and gentlemen, there has been a confirmed case of COVID-19 at the Performance Center. Meaning that the tapings that were supposed to happen this evening were canceled. That's right, the tapings were canceled. This is via mandatory.com and also via Wrestle Zone. Okay? Now, on the same day, okay, they reported that WWE is preparing to hold live events by the end of the summer. So I don't know which report came first, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a bumpy road through the end of 2020. So I don't know what tapings not happening on Tuesday means for Friday, because, I know that there's stuff that's going on and being recorded that will air on Friday. I know some of it will be live, but they do a lot of the taping, right? The vignettes, the backstage promos, some of the matches that we've been seeing that are clearly pre-recorded and being played during the live airways. So just stay tuned. We're going to keep you guys updated through our social media platforms. So I know that it felt like COVID-19 was a thing of the past. Let me use this breaking news as an opportunity to remind everybody that we just need to be careful, okay? Make sure you're washing your hands. If you feel so inclined to do so, make sure you wear a mask. Try to avoid gatherings of excess amounts of people. I know people are expressing their First Amendment right now, fighting for their rights on several different fronts. But let's just not forget, guys, over 120,000 people have died because of COVID-19. So as much as I would love to pretend like none of that's happening, we have to be realistic and take the precautions that are being recommended so that we can all continue to live healthy and happy and enjoy pro wrestling, the sport that we love so much. So I hope that doesn't bring us down, but I wanted to share that news with the members of the Wrestle Talk podcast, Jonesy. And we'll get the drops fixed by next week, we promise.
Yes. Yeah, that is definitely unfortunate with the somebody came down with the COVID-19. So it's going to be interesting next couple of weeks and see what exactly that the WWE has in store. But ladies and gentlemen, our first guest is here. So Renee, why don't you do what you do best and introduce our first guest?
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a pleasure to do so. And I'll tell you what, guys, this tour of the United States has taken us to a lot of places. To this point, we're almost 30 states deep into Wrestle Talk Podcast professional wrestling tour across America. And this week, we have an opportunity to talk to a gentleman that is an avid sports fan. Roller derby, hockey, but of course, the reason you guys are all here, professional wrestling. Now, what makes him so incredible is that many of us who are in the professional wrestling business, you guys know I'm a commentator, Joe is a professional wrestling referee, have not been able to get back to work. But our next guest, the MK Bandit, is coming off of his first show in 90 days, and he is on fire, he is excited, and you know what? He's representing the great state of Utah. What could be better than that? Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce and welcome in for the very first time to the Wrestle Talk Podcast, the MK Bandit, Matthew Roblez. Yeah, baby.
Huh?
Yeah,
How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to talk to me. This is an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
The honor is ours. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to start this off. And I'm going to ask you this question because it has nothing to do with pro wrestling, but it has to do with one of my favorite bands of all time. So it is my understanding that you bought a gold Kiss record from Eric Singer's sister. How did you make that possible?
That's sick.
So what happened is it was here's what happened. It was Eric Carr, and as you know, he passed away a while ago. And
Yes.
what happened is I was at a Kiss convention, and his sister was there and had all this very personal stuff laid out there. And she was selling all of his gold records. So literally, there's only 4. And I just couldn't walk away without one. And so I asked her, why are you selling these? These are so personal. And she told me something so special that makes me feel so special to actually own one. What she said is, if we had this in a special room, or we had this in a garage or something like that, slowly but surely Eric's legacy dies. But if we sell it to a fan who loves Eric's music, who loves Kiss, it will live forever. And the fact that you brought this up is proof positive of that. And so I literally have that in my office, and it is Eric Carr's gold record. And I also have several gloves that he wore on stage and things of that nature. And I'm happy to say that her idea worked. He's living on through all of us.
That is true.
That's legendary.
That is absolutely true. Now, you don't actually, you weren't just a pro wrestling manager and a promoter, but you have been active in sports since you were like 8 years old. you helped your high school win the Utah State Hockey Championship. You play and you coach competitive flow pitch softball. How do you make time to do all of these sports and be a promoter of professional wrestling?
You know what? You have to make time for the things that are important in your life. But I'm in the very unique position right now to where my children are in their 20s. I'm divorced. And so, without those pressures, like I could not have done this 15 years ago. So without those pressures, I dedicate literally from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, I am dedicating myself to one project or another. And that's what makes me happy. And I don't know that's why it was so hard during the lockdown it was hard to stay motivated. It was hard to keep those creative juices flowing in that because I'm so used to traveling, to writing, to doing things of that nature. And I'm just glad that the world's starting to get back to normal because I'm starting to feel normal and more like myself.
Ah, gotcha. So basically what you're saying is that you're just another version of the night owl. Now, some of you don't know, but the night owl, I don't know how he does it, but the night owl, like, he devotes his time to wrestling, to the podcast, to his family, to his work. I don't know how that he does it. How do you do it, Night Owl? How do you do it?
Lots and lots of cerveza. That's how. Lots and lots of cold cervezas, bro. That's it. That, and let's be honest, bro, I came from literally nothing. You couldn't find the town I was born in on a map. That's true, by the way. Okay? And now I'm blessed. I have so many great opportunities, so many great relationships. We continue to make new ones every single week, like by talking to Matt here and talking to Tom Simon a little bit later on in tonight's show. And to be honest with you, bro, I've always wanted to do this. When I was growing up, I wanted to be Stuart Scott in ESPN and talk sports, much like our friend here, Matthew Roblez. So I get to do what I love. My family supports me. And guess what? I'm only 36. So I'm relatively young. I still got a lot of energy, got a lot of goals. And it's really an honor to be able to work with you, Joe, and to have illustrious guests like Matthew Roblez on the show tonight, man. It's really a pleasure. It really is. Labor of love. Labor of love.
And that's the thing. We're blessed. And that's my biggest fear is it's like I use the analogy of working out. That it seems like if you stop working out one day, there's an excuse. The next day it gets a little harder to go back to the gym. Then the third day you kind of forgot about working out.
So true.
And so it's kind of the same thing with these projects. If you're on top of it, you keep going, you take advantage of all your blessings and all your opportunities. Once that train gets going, it's not easy, but it's fairly in the flow of keeping things going. But once you stop, it's very difficult to get started. So once I got started and recognized all my opportunities as blessings and recognized all my opportunities as the opportunity of a lifetime and putting everything into it, it just keeps you going. That motivation keeps you going. That's what keeps you going. And that's why I think a lot of people fell into depression, fell into a lot of bad stuff during the lockdown because the whole world came to a screeching halt.
Absolutely. I could not
Great answer.
agree more. And I have one more question, and then I'm going to send it to Renee because I don't want to ask all of the questions. And this last question is, you were actually a child performer with a group called the Carousel Kids on a local Utah television show. Can you tell us about the Carousel Kids?
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful. I was a little kid. My mother took me one summer to singing lessons at the library, and there were free song and dance lessons. And, at the time, that sounded like a lot of fun to me. Well, the lady who ran the program was very smart because she rented the library room, and she would use the free song and dance lesson as an audition for the Carousel Kids. And so she would pick out of those free song and dance lessons, she would pick a few of us to be part of the troupe. And so you started out as an understudy. You know, she talked to my mom, said, we like to perform. You started out as an understudy. You learned all the routines. And, you know, we've all been to the amusement parks, and there's always that center stage where there's groups of people singing and dancing.
Yeah.
I think y'all know what I'm talking about. That's what I was. And so I got to go to Kings Island, Ohio, Lagoon here in Utah, Disneyland, Disney World, Knott's Berry Farms, you know, and got to see the world. That gave me a sense of theater, that gave me a sense of how to perform in front of a crowd, that led to other opportunities, commercials, the theater, things of that nature that I never realized were so important to professional wrestling until I got into professional wrestling. And so that was kind of, to be honest with you, when people say, when did you start in professional wrestling? I'm going to say as a song and dance person, because that's where I first learned how to perform.
Wow. That is awesome. So you can basically say that you've been doing this since you were a little kid. All right, Renee, I know you've been chomping at the bit, so the floor is yours to ask whatever questions that you want to, sir.
You got it, man. Thank you very much. Those were some great questions. Shout out to my boy Geki, checking in from the great state of Colorado. Also, Allen's, a.k.a. Big Al, checking in from the great state of Missouri, man. We're glad to have both of you guys here on the show. And Larry, also here from beautiful St. Louis. So my first question to you, Matt, is pretty simple. I think you heard our conversation when you were on in the green room, I should say, and we were talking about the greatest wrestling match ever. How did you feel about them promoting that match that way? And do you think it lived up to the hype? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I think it was. I think you have to always do something special, and I think that you have to generate a build and talk about a match. And the one way to do it is to make outlandish claims. And it's a pretty bold, outlandish claim to say the greatest wrestling match ever. And what that means is that the powers that be had an incredible amount of trust in those two individuals to deliver. Because when you think about it, they don't have to have the greatest wrestling match ever. They just have to deliver and literally be entertaining and do their job. And once they've done that, the hype has done its part, you've done your part, and quite frankly, the fact that we're talking about it and the fact that social media is afire with talk about it means that as a whole, that whole thing did its job.
It worked.
And so I would say job well done.
Oh my gosh, I completely agree. And my argument was simple. For what they can offer with what they have today to the current product, that felt like a little bit of a throwback, did it not? I mean, you've been around the business since the 80s, so like, yeah, they did a damn good job. And you know what? The greatest match ever, no matter who you are, is subjective. Okay? It's so subjective. There's no way to really define the greatest professional wrestling match ever unless you're creating a list of parameters that define it, but anyone could create a different list. Would you agree with that, Matthew? I mean, it's kind of hard to pinpoint one specific match.
No, that's exactly right, because it goes to greatest anything ever. You know, my dad and I used to argue over who was the greatest heavyweight champion ever. You know, he would say Joe Louis because that's what he grew up watching or listening to on the radio. I would say Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson, and, you know, that argument goes on and on. I just thought it was really, I really believe that it was a smart move and it was a bold move because now you can't do that every year. You can't do that every 2 years.
Right.
But the fact that they had really never made that type of a claim before was a really good ace in the hole for them. And it's what needed to happen to make the event be an event.
And they absolutely did that. No question about it. They delivered, and again, it is completely subjective, and the fact that we're talking about it, mission accomplished. So let's move over to something that's not subjective, something that has been proven by science. And we were having this conversation earlier because I celebrated my birthday just yesterday, and my wife brought me my favorite pie, which happens to be the best pie ever, which is key lime pie. What's your stance on how great key lime pie is? Or if you want to disagree, that's fine, but I'd rather hear you tell me how great key lime pie is.
Key lime pie is the intercontinental champion, but it's going to always job to lemon meringue.
Oh, no, not another lemon meringue person. No, how could this be?
Got him. Got him.
Dude, you bait and switched me, Matt. I thought you were going to be with me, bro. You baited me and then you switched me. That's messed up, bro.
So do we dare call this debate of key lime pie or lemon meringue the greatest pie match ever?
Yep, this is the greatest pie debate ever, too. And there's no room.
There you go.
I'm getting all types of hate right now on Facebook for key lime pie. That's fine. Again, I'm okay with all of you being wrong. That's no big deal. Well, you know what, Matt? Let's move from pies to extreme. One of the things that I was able to uncover in doing my research is that, like many of us, garner certain places, certain promotions, certain times with an incredible reverence. For myself in particular, the Attitude Era, incredible because of my age and how engulfed I was in pro wrestling at the time. Also, a few years ago when I started going to independent wrestling shows, let's call it 2015 to 2016, memorable, will always stay with me forever. You had a moment like that a while back, and you more or less crossed something major off of your bucket list by getting an opportunity to not only visit, but to perform in the ECW arena. Can you please share that experience with the listeners of the Wrestle Talk family?
Well, I mean, it was amazing. First, because I didn't actually realize I would be performing in the arena. As many of you know or don't know, I managed Bubba Ray Dudley to his 5th world title in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so Bubba and I, talked business, and we worked together for half a year. You know what I mean? And through that, Tommy Dreamer came into knowing who I was, and I performed with him. And then he gave me an opportunity and called me and asked me to come perform at House of Hardcore. He had seen what I had done across the country. At the time, my character was a sports agent, an evil attorney type guy, and he had an idea that he wanted to use. So the basics of it were to come to Freehold, New Jersey, and essentially try out. And if you can do good there, then we'll put you on the next show. And if you do good there, then you put them on the next show. And he reminded me of a phrase that Paul Heyman had talked to him about, which was, Paul Heyman entered every performance as an audition for his next performance. So I showed up with my bags at Freehold, New Jersey, and one of my very good friends, Michael Kaufman, drove me there. Scared shitless, not knowing what I was going to do, because it's a totally new character that I knew nothing about. And Tommy Dreamer told me what I was going to do. Basically, they brought me into the business the right way, and had Rock and Roll Express double drop kick me and Sandman break a cane on my stomach, and I earned my stripes there. When I got to the back, Tommy said, "I've got a spot for you tomorrow night in the show in Philly." And
wow!
I immediately started thinking, I started thinking about it, and I actually started going through the network, on the WWE network, on the shows that I knew I was at in that arena, and I found where I was actually sitting. So one of the first things I did after I walked into the arena and shook all the boys' hands is I went to where I was actually sitting at those different events and looked at the ring and just absorbed the fact that I will be in that ring. And what freaked me out more than anything is looking at the run sheet. I'm with Tommy Dreamer and Joey Mercury in the main event.
What?
So, yeah. So I went from indie guy with limited experience to immediately going to becoming a major player in a run where a feud erupts between Joey Mercury and Tommy Dreamer, and I'm the leader of the heel faction.
Nice.
You lucky
And
duck.
when you get up there me and my buddies, we were at a bar afterwards, and his girlfriend Dawn held up the video that she had taken, and I looked at that, and all I could think of is, that's me. And it didn't hit me until I saw myself on that phone that I actually just went in the ring and did something in the ECW arena. And not only that, I'm coming back for a bunch of more shows. It was an experience, and it made me realize this is why we all do this. This is what we do. Professional wrestling is probably, of all the sports that I've been involved with, is probably the most satisfying on a night-by-night basis and has the best emotional payoff for me.
Well, wow, man. I'm telling you, you're telling these stories, and, I'm getting chills. Not so much because of the content, but because of the excitement. I can tell there for a moment you kind of put yourself back in that place. And what an incredible experience.
Oh, yeah.
What an incredible experience. And the fact that you so vividly are able to share it, even though that was a little while ago, that's pretty awesome, man. What a fantastic memory.
Thank you.
And how great is it to be able to reach those heights? House of Hardcore is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. In case you didn't know. And if I'm not mistaken, House of Hardcore is now owned by Master P. Am I wrong, Joe? Is that not right?
No, it is owned by Tommy Dreamer. It is Tommy Dreamer's brainchild, and he runs it. He owns it. He books it. He's the star, and if there's a more amazing individual in professional wrestling than Vince McMahon, I would say it's Tommy Dreamer. The guy is incredible, and the more I've interacted with him, the more I speak with him. I him and Bubba, I owe like everything to those guys. They've really been good. They've really taken care of me, and it's Tommy Dreamer. He's put that thing together from nothing, and he's kept it together, and he's created careers. If it wasn't for Tommy Dreamer, I would have never been in Impact. If it wasn't, it's just he's so smart in how he books too, because he takes guys and sees what they can do and puts them in the right situation to where you can't fail, which is very difficult to do in this business. I always felt comfortable with him because he always put me in a position to where I could succeed. And that's something that I learned from him in evaluating talent is don't look at someone as, wow, that guy can't throw a hip toss or his strikes are weak. Well, that just means don't put him in a position to where he has to throw strikes or do a hip toss. Find out what he does and put him in that situation. That's the art of booking. The art of booking isn't finding the most incredible talent and putting him up as a champion. Anybody can do that. Anybody can pick out Hulk Hogan and say, the key is to find what rough and tumble group of guys that you had, what you have, and put each of them in the best situation to succeed. And that's the mentality that you have to have. That was the ECW mentality, and that's the mentality that you have to have to book today.
No doubt about it. And thank you, Inter Timmy. I just got a message in my messenger, and forgive me for misspeaking. Master P, back in October of 2018, purchased House of Glory, not House of Hardcore. My bad. I apologize.
Correct.
I misspoke. I wanted to make sure that I made that 100% crystal clear. And you're right. You're right. Tommy Dreamer is the brainchild, owner, booker, and the man in charge, and he deserves every last bit of ounce of respect from everybody for doing what he's done, not only throughout his career as an in-ring competitor. I had the very, very fortunate opportunity to watch him against one of our local favorites here a few years ago at Metro Pro Wrestling in Kansas City, Kansas, against Mark Sterling. And that was such a fun match. They did the deal, and I'd never seen this before, Matt. They went into the crowd, and Tommy Dreamer ripped Mark Sterling's shirt off and was letting kids chop him in the crowd. It was so great. And you know what? They didn't do one flip. They didn't do one move off the top rope. And they might have not even done a hip toss. So to your point, you're 100% right. Being a manager, a booker, an owner, your position isn't to have a bunch of all-stars. It's what to do with everyone who isn't an all-star and putting them in a position to be successful. I don't think I could have said it any better.
Well, and that's what you've got to realize in professional wrestling. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a role, from the ring crew to the person running the music. Everybody is important. If it isn't for every one of those people with the heart and the passion doing what they do, an independent professional wrestling event cannot come off the ground. And the failure to recognize the importance of every single individual in that building helping you is the failure of most independent wrestling promoters.
Man, I believe you. Well, real quick, before we move on here, you're getting a big shout out from your homie Chief. And he says, hey guys, great show tonight. Please tell Matt Roblez much love from the Chief. Any words back to the Chief, Matt?
Oh yeah. I love Chief, man. That's the weirdest thing about being a heel these days, is the industry's kind of exposed. And so a guy I love like the Chief, you know, he'll be the one that throws the most crap at me and yells the worst at me. He's the first to grab me a beer after the show.
Gotta love that camaraderie, man. Nothing beats it. Well, before I throw it back to Joe, I had one last question, and it pertains to the Cauliflower Alley Club, an organization that all three of us have great reverence for. Joe actually got his membership for the very first time this year, and I think it was one of the best decisions he ever made. I'm getting ready to get that done myself personally, and I know that you got your ear to the ground over there because you co-host the Cauliflower Alley Club podcast. I don't know how the hell you landed that gig, but I'm extremely jealous. You and Jim Valley, talk to us a little bit about hosting that podcast and some of the stuff that you guys have been able to cover, because, you know, as recently here as June 10th, we had an unfortunate loss to the pro wrestling community as Mr. Wrestling 2, a.k.a. Johnny Walker, passed away. So talk to us about the podcast, what that experience has been like, and some of the things that you've been able to kind of help fans get through hosting the podcast, because I know a lot of people hold the Cauliflower Alley Club in very, very high regard, including Joe and myself.
Yeah, I mean, first off, the Cauliflower Alley Club is a benevolent organization. None of us have pro wrestling insurance. None of us have, health insurance through some organization like the NFL or something. So the first and foremost thing that people got to realize is, you know, you have to respect and understand that if it wasn't for those of us that are veterans that went through the road before us and protected the business, none of us would be here talking about the business. And some of those gentlemen are in need, and some of those women are in need. Excuse me. So by joining the Cauliflower Alley Club, that money goes directly to those professional wrestlers that paved the way for all of us to be here. And that's the message that we're trying to get out. Number one, it's a fun podcast because we get to talk to a lot of really good people like Medusa and Dr. Death, David Schultz, and people like that. But in reality, the organization is wonderful because it helps the professional wrestlers that are in need that helped us. It's Matt Roblez being able to give to the man, give to the women who went before him who paved the road for me to make a living doing this. And everybody out there, fan, worker, ring crew member, can help by joining. And that's the message we get out. And then with Jim Valley, no one is more professional. The guy's done it all. He's so smart. He's got so much knowledge. And so I just sit back and listen to him. For me, it's easy. It's just
going to school, man.
There's nothing easier than working with Jim Valley.
Yeah, it's like going to school, isn't it? That must be incredible.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, and that's the thing is I can listen to him for hours. So sometimes the only hard part about me is I get a little mesmerized by his knowledge and his ability to run his ability to run an interview to where it's like, oh, shoot, he's dropping to me. I better, you know what I mean?
No, I absolutely understand. And you know what? That's how I feel getting a chance to work with one of the best podcasters in the game over all these years. You know, we did just celebrate episode 300 here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, Matt. And if it wasn't for our founder, Nightmare Jones, man, we would have never made it this far. So I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. I mean, that's congratulations. That's unbelievable. I mean, and to be as popular as you guys are, hats off to you.
Nah, man, it's only because we have great guests just like you. Jonesy, jump back in here, baby. I know you got a couple more. I know we're a little tight on the time or what have you, but we got to get shoot and shout in because I feel like there's plenty of reasons to go off a little bit tonight on episode 302 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. What you got for us, Joe?
I do. So, you were actually a roller derby referee for the Salt Lake City Derby Girls from 2007 to 2010. You know, they actually named their bank track the Bandit Bank Track after you. How does it feel to have that kind of accomplishment, and how did you get into roller derby?
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, back in the day of MySpace, you know, you're a pro wrestling fan. There was no pro wrestling in Utah, so you kind of look for that extreme sport. I saw an ad for Salt City Derby Girls. I showed up because I have experience in competitive sports, former professional athlete, this, that, the other thing. At the time, trained to be a professional wrestler. And I met Rebecca Rendon, who was the owner and the leader of the group, and it was a lifelong friendship with her. She's actually now my secretary and my project coordinator. And when time came to go from flat track to bank track, they had a need. I helped get together the money to purchase and build the bank track, and it was something that I look back very fondly in my life, but I'm kind of glad it's over.
I hear that.
Not easy to be a roller derby referee, I'll tell you that.
I can only imagine. Now, my last question, and then we'll throw it to Renee and see what other last questions that he has. You were a ring announcer and backstage personality for American Extreme Wrestling. You know, you directed all of their promotional videos. You published over 79 videos on YouTube, has over 14,000 views. You know, can you tell us a little bit about AXW?
Yeah, American Extreme Wrestling started here in Salt Lake City. There was a very indie promotion that kind of went out of business, so the wrestlers didn't have a place to work. A couple of gentlemen started putting on shows in a local bar. I was a fan in the stands. About 11 years ago, I met their owner, a gentleman by the name of Concussion. He knew my ability as an announcer and kind of brought me in, and we drew up plans for a wrestling ring and provided a comeback. And as things go, just like the pro wrestling phrase is, people will say that's not my job, that's not responsibility. Well, everything is your responsibility in an independent wrestling company. And they needed someone to start producing videos. They needed someone to start doing things of that nature. And you got to understand, 11 years ago, YouTube was very fledgling, and that was about the only format we had. And so I basically taught myself how to edit videos, taught myself how to put together videos, and started and understanding that pro wrestling is about stories and not moves. We started putting together continuous storylines, and we continued that. Once AXW went out of business, we basically took that same philosophy, and I hooked up with some very wonderful gentlemen from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we started Destiny Wrestling Organization, and basically continued it there.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
And now
absolutely.
and now, if I may, in Salt Lake City, a gentleman named Manny Lemons has taken the torch, if you say, not that I needed to pass it on. He did this all on his own. I didn't really assist in this. He just did it. He started Devotion Championship Wrestling here in Salt Lake. He wrangled Vince Russo to be our writer, and now we're on TV.
Congratulations, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's freaking
That is awesome.
So great.
All right,
And the thing that's cool, once again.
No, go right ahead, sir.
I was just going to say, and then, we kind of led into this, and I might be stealing some of the thunder, but I mean, you got to understand that how important it was this last Saturday that we put on a show for the fans in Salt Lake City, and not just for the fans, but for the performers. Guys like myself, I hadn't performed in 90 days. We brought in Sin Bodhi, former Kazarni, from Las Vegas, and we had a socially responsible, social distance show, and it was a tremendous success. And I have to shout out to Manny Lemons and give him credit to have the huevos to do that, because a lot of people gave him crap and didn't think he'd pull it off, but he did, and he's successful. And we got another show coming up on July 11th.
Wow. Well, you know what,
Well,
Jonesy? I have to say, and I try to save this for only the most important moments, but he said Manny Lemons had the huevos to run a show, and it was a huge success, and they observed social distancing. Intern Timmy, do me a favor and hit that Mexican yell. Yeah, baby.
Thank you.
Hey, no problem. Well, listen, we are so happy, bro, that you're finally back to doing what you love. I know there's so much stuff that we could talk about, man. We could have probably spent 30 minutes just talking about the show this past Saturday, and you said you guys have got another one coming up. We're going to let you plug that heavy, but I want to ask you to see if we can't get some of that MK Bandit flavor before we let you go. So tonight, we're getting ready to transition into the Wrestle Talk podcast Shoot and Shout segment. Nightmare Jones will explain. There's even some music involved. And more or less, it's a little bit of a therapeutic session. Is it not, Jonesy? Why don't you tell Matt all about it?
All right.
yes. So basically what it is we're going to play a little bit of music, and then I'm going to go, and then Renee's going to go, and then you're going to go last, and then you can talk about whatever you want to talk about, whatever is grinding your gears, whatever is pissing you off. So, Intern Timmy, go ahead and hit that music.
Joe, can I go first? Can I go first this week, bro?
Go ahead.
All right, so make sure you got them gunshots ready for me because I'm about to go in. So guess what, guys? We run a moderately successful professional wrestling podcast, and one of our responsibilities is to keep you guys entertained throughout the week. As you guys know, we currently are only doing one podcast a week, and then we have the Fantasy Wrestling Podcast. That's on Friday. That's a separate thing. So our job is to do stuff and provide you guys content throughout the week so that you don't forget about us. So what does Nightmare Jones do? He takes the time to film a video where he's showing off all the championships that he's acquired over the years. Now, Joe, can you quickly give us a rundown of the championships that you showed us on the video?
Yes, I have the IC title. I have the, I call it the catch-up championship, but it's the Universal Championship. I have the Untitled Legacy title, and I just got the big gold.
Okay, so you got 5 full-size, full-weight championships. Now, I don't want to put your business out on the streets, but I'm guessing each one of these belts probably costs well over $300. Is that accurate?
The one belt I got for Christmas, the one belt was like $140, and the other two were, about that. Yeah.
About that. Okay, so pretty much all of them are 300 plus. Okay, fine. So here's my shoot and shout for tonight. If my man Jonesy takes the time out of his day to share with you guys the belt collection that he has, be grateful. Don't start talking about, oh, where's your smoking skull belt, dude? Bro, how come you don't own the Millionaires Championship? Forcing Nightmare Jones to say, you know what? I don't particularly like those belts, and if I did, I might add them to my collection at a later date. The lack of appreciation and dissatisfaction from today's pro wrestling fans is ridiculous. There's an old saying, now I'm born 1984, I'm not to say that's old, but there's this old saying that I think is still relevant, Nightmare Jones. Don't hate, congratulate. Instead of commenting on how amazing your championships are, or B, keeping their stinking trap shut, somebody had to bring something up about, how come you don't own the smoking skull belt, bro? Shut your mouth! I'm guessing you don't own one belt! Nightmare Jones is dedicated to his craft. He's spending his hard-earned money so that he's got something to bring to you guys, to show you, to share with you. He could be a hermit and like keep it in his closet and never show anybody and just be a total weirdo about it. But he doesn't. He shares it. And what do you guys have in return? You have hate. And you got nothing but, how come you don't have this? And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you guys. And you know what? We work our asses off for you. And the fact of the matter is that Nightmare Jones has an amazing pro wrestling belt collection, and you ain't gotta like it. That's my shoot and shout for Night Jones. You're next.
Man, how do I follow that? All right, so here's my shoot and shout. So on Facebook, you can find things like the worst in the four-state, trash bag wrestlers. Basically, it's to trash on other professional wrestlers. And today I saw something that kind of irked my nerves a little bit. There's a guy in the area. He's a referee, and he likes to go to wrestling shows, and he gets pictures taken with, a bunch of wrestlers. And they were ragging on him because he goes to these shows and he gets pictures taken with these other wrestlers, like Angelina Love and Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. And basically, they were calling him a mark just because he likes to go and go to wrestling conventions and stuff. It's like, when did it become a bad thing for somebody in the wrestling business to still enjoy to go to wrestling shows? When did that become such a bad thing to be in the wrestling business and still enjoy, getting your picture taken with somebody that's on WWE or AEW or something? Like they made the comment, maybe the owner of AEW will see him with his picture taken with Sasha Banks and will decide that we need to book him for our shows. Dude, when did that become such a bad thing,
Oh my gosh, Jonesy, that's legendary, bro. I agree 100%. Good stuff. Well, MK, the Bandit.
Podcast on just that.
No, that's right. Hey, the MK Bandit is up to bat, baby. Tell us, it doesn't even have to be wrestling related. It could be about an empty bag of chips, because geez Louise, they're terrible about filling up potato chip bags.
Now,
What's yours,
what
Matt?
I'm talking about.
Go ahead.
Okay, here's what I'm talking about. I see so many people on social media. There is nothing wrong with paying $40 to meet Alexa Bliss or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with paying $40, $50 to take pictures with Angeline Love. In fact, you are helping further the business because that's how we make our money.
Duh.
If you think we make our living off just our emolument or our payout, well, you're wrong. So I see all these people doing that. I see a lot of people, talking about what they saw on the network the night before, and they're spending all this money on professional wrestling. When WWE comes to town, you see 15,000 people in an arena, and they call themselves, quote, true professional wrestling fans. Well, guess what? If you're not going to an independent professional wrestling show paying $10 and supporting those of us that are trying to make our way to the WWE, then you're not a pro wrestling fan. You, my friend, are a mark.
Preach! Hit the gunshots, Timmy. I need to hear those gunshots, and I need to hear them right freaking now. Preach! Ladies and gentlemen, the MK Bandit, Matthew effing Roblez. Give me those gunshots, baby. Yes, and guess what, Matt? As if your night wasn't already super duper duper over because this amazing interview we just heard from Tom Simon. And he just wants us to let you know that he's got nothing but love and affection for you. And he says, what an absolutely wonderful interview. So you're getting props from Tom Simon, man. To me, that is accomplishment all on its own, bro. Much, much respect to Tom.
Thank you.
And he's throwing flowers your way.
Well, thanks. Tom's an amazing, amazing individual, too. I love him. I love working with him. Every year I look forward to meeting him and seeing him at Cauliflower Alley Club. And Tom, I love you.
He's definitely listening. He's drinking his beer, unfortunately, though, out of a St. Louis Cardinals mug. Somebody needs to get this man the memo that your beer tastes 17.5% better when you drink it out of a Wrestle Talk podcast mug. Somebody needs to tell Tom Simon. Maybe he just doesn't know. I don't know. Well, all that said, Matt, thank you so much for being here. Do us a favor. Tell us about the upcoming show. And also, welcome as the newest member of the Wrestle Talk family, man. Very happy to have you.
Well, you know what? Like I said, this is an absolute pleasure. I do these, and I can honestly say this is the most fun I've ever had. And I love you guys. And so the next show is coming up here in Salt Lake City, July 11th. We're bringing in Sam Adonis from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I have been working with Sam for the past 3 years. Met him at House of Hardcore. Tommy Dreamer put us together. He's coming out. He's had wars with Manny Lemons. I don't know if we're going to be in the ring with them, but I'll tell you what, anytime you get Sam Adonis and MK at a show, it's worth any price that they ask for. And it's Devotion Championship Wrestling. Look for us on Facebook, all the social media outlets. It's July 11th here in Salt Lake City. The seats are extremely limited because we are doing social distancing. So hit up Devotion Championship Wrestling and come see me and Sam Adonis and Manny Lemons and a whole slew of others. And remember what I said, if you're not supporting independent professional wrestling and you call yourself a wrestling fan, you're not a wrestling fan, you're a mark.
Jonesy, say goodnight to Matt, bro. Final thoughts?
And thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule. You are absolutely awesome. Please don't be a stranger and tell us if you will come back onto the podcast sometime.
I'd love to come back. Anytime you want me, you hit me up. I'm here, guys. I really appreciate the time.
Awesome.
Wow, wow, wow. What an incredible first hour of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Jonesy, episode 302 has been incredible thus far. Why don't you go ahead and take us in a break, and we'll be back. While we're on break, bro, if you wouldn't mind messaging the general managers, letting them know that even though the FWWC is on break this week, we would love to hear their thoughts about FWWC Backlash and the crowning of our new FWWC Warriors Heart Champion, the Bishop. That number is 657-383-1521. After the break in FWWC, we're getting into our second featured interview of the evening, featuring one of our very favorite guests ever, the one and only Tom Simon. We'll catch you guys in about 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the other side. Peace.
Yo, what up? Night Out. Nightmare Jones. What up, Wrestle Talk fam? Do it for y'all. Check me out. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Even them haters can't hate us no more. So unlock your door, cause we got some more. Every Wednesday we here, keeping it raw. Night Out, Nightmare Jones, and all the best jets. Like a double barrel pointed right at your chest. Wrestle Talk Podcast.com. Smashing and killing it like a night at a prom.
Que pasa? Que...
Ladies and gentlemen, Smith.
Oh, Jonesy.
Yours, Renee.
Hey, no, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Que pasa? Que pasa? Que pasa? Loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family, welcome to the second hour of the show. We are roughly 10 minutes away for bringing on our second featured guest of the evening. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Renowned referee, ring announcer, kind of overall pro wrestling genius. And I know he's going to be like, Renee, you put a little bit too much salsa on the tacos. But let's call a spade a spade. This man represents the great state of, or the great city of St. Louis, done a great amount of contributing to the professional wrestling world down in Arkansas as well. So like I said, in about 10 minutes, guys, we're going to be talking to the one and only Tom Simon, and I cannot wait to have a conversation with him and see what the hell he's been doing during the quarantine and how eager he is for everything to open right back up again so that we can get back to doing what we love, and that's pro wrestling. But before we get there, we do have some business to address in the FWWC. Nightmare Jones, I know you're always listening. Do me a favor. Message the GMs. Let them know that we're here. And encourage them and their superstars to call in. Why? Well, let me tell you why. Because we just had one of the most epic pay-per-views in FWWC history. Not only was the Warriors Heart Championship on the line, we also were celebrating our 9th year as the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. Now, a lot of people like to crap on eFeds, and that's fine, but we're not an eFed. We're fantasy wrestling. The difference is the amount of nuance, hard work, and dedication that goes into our craft. From our matches, the way that we format that, our promos, our posters, and really the community of hardcore wrestling fans, because only the most serious professional wrestling fans need apply. The way we're able to do it is like nothing else I've ever seen before. So if you've always wanted to be in professional wrestling, but you can't for some reason, financial, physical, or even circumstantial reasons, you can't get in the ring, FWWC is a tremendous alternative for you. Promos, matches, not physical, but mental, real championships that we ship all across the globe. Some of them are even customized, full size, full weight, original championships that you will only find in the FWWC. Do us a favor and visit WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Slide over to the end, over to the Fantasy Wrestling tab. Click that, read our story, visit our Facebook page, and join. I promise you will not regret it. It will take your professional wrestling watching experience to a whole nother level, much like fantasy football did for NFL many, many years ago when it first came onto the scene. Again, it's WrestleTalkPodcast.com/fantasy wrestling. All that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have time for maybe a caller, possibly two, from the FWWC. And first in line is a woman that don't take no crap. Not only is it because she's hardcore, it's also because she's representing the great state of VA. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, the general manager of the Inferno brand, Hardcore Sis.
Good evening, Night Owl. Let me first say happy birthday to the FWWC and happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much. 36 feels a lot better than I thought it would. I appreciate that, Susie.
Not a problem, one. But, you know, let me just make this straight, because I know we're kind of pushed for time a little bit, but let me just say, the Inferno team proved once again at Backlash that we are the premier brand of the premier fantasy wrestling group, the FWWC. We proved why we are the Inferno brand and we bring the heat. Not only do we have one of the top 3 championships, we now hold 2. Bishop is our Warriors Heart champion. And guess what? He's Inferno.
Well, I knew, even though we were quote-unquote off this week, that if anybody was going to call, it was going to be you. Because being able to claim that Warriors Heart Championship as a part of your brand is probably your greatest accomplishment to date, courtesy of the Bishop. Now, you've never been Warriors Heart Champion yourself, but you've been around long enough to know the pressures of being the Warriors Heart Champion. If you were sitting in a room right now with Bishop one-on-one, and I'm not saying you have or haven't done this already, what advice would you give him on being the Warriors Heart Champ, seeing as you've seen so many come and go?
Probably my first thing I would say to him is, don't let your head get big. Don't ever think that because you are the top champ of the group, that you are bigger than the group. Because no one is bigger than the group. But I have to say this. If anyone can handle the pressure of being the Warriors Heart Champion, it'll be Bishop. Bishop is one of the coolest, calmest, most laid-back guys I personally have ever seen. And when you put a task in front of him, he hits it head on and he demolishes it. And that's one of the reasons he's on my team. Because I know that there isn't anyone on my team that can't handle it. But if anyone can handle it, well, it's the Bishop.
Well said indeed. Well, my final question, because we do have to move on to Tom Simon. I've got 2 other people from the FWWC on hold. Guys, I apologize. We went a little late with MK Bandit. And we've got to get to Tom Simon here within the next 3 to 5 minutes. So if we're not able to get you on, please just bear with us and understand That's kind of the way it goes in live radio. But also, even though the FWWC is on a 1-week vacation, the head admin, DeJuan Mills, will be hosting the FWWC tonight. You can find it there. Enter Timmy's screen. I think we might actually have a chance to bring on a caller here for a couple of moments before it's all said and done. But DeJuan Mills is hosting, and we're going to be covering Backlash extensively. So if you're the member of the FWWC and you wanted to get on tonight, because like I said, we can only get on 1 or 2. It's been a very busy night. That is the place to be. And of course, it is sponsored by the Wrestle Talk podcast. So if you want to have your voice heard and you want to talk all FWWC, that is the place to go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Hardcore Sis, it's always an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. We are going to have to move on to Tom Simon. Any final thoughts for the members of the FWWC?
Just that, you know what, I am so happy and so proud of my brand, and I say it all the time, and I mean it. They make me look good, and the Inferno team looked really good, and I just want to thank each member of my team for everything they did, and it's only up and up from here.
Oh, no. No. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. Really? All right, Mayhem. You know what? Let's get right to it. Mayhem. You wait till the very last second. I've only got about 2.5 minutes for you because I got to get time. Why do you wait till the very last second to call in? What is your problem? Are you mad?
Because you
Are you
saved
mad?
the best for last. You saved the best for last.
Oh,
You
my
know
gosh. What do you want, Mayhem? What do you want?
You know, I call onto this very, very, very illustrious show of yours, and I got to hand it to you. You know, making it to 300 episodes and beyond, even for someone as incompetent as you, I am impressed.
Oh, shut your mouth, Mayhem. You can never do what I do. You can never do what I do.
Oh no, I wouldn't get paid enough to do what you do.
Jeez.
But anyways,
What?
I'm calling tonight to give everyone a little glimpse of what's going to happen. You see, what happened this past Sunday was just the beginning for Battle Cat. See, I ended up coming up 1-0 on Battle Cat for the Hardcore Championship. And lucky for him, we got a break this week. But that's all right, because next week, the next break he's going to be getting is my foot in his ass.
All right. You know what?
I'm going to win the Hardcore Championship.
That sort of language is unnecessary, Mayhem. Just make your point and move on already. You're slowing down the show.
Of course not. I called and made my point. If you're listening, Battle Cat, just be prepared to lose this coming Monday and crown your boy Marcus Mayhem the new Hardcore Champion. Now I'll let you get on to your little show.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate that. Well, you know what? Fair is fair. And we cannot allow this segment to end with nothing but Inferno representation. So, Tom, bear with me. I promise you'll get your full 30 minutes because we got a lot to talk about. But it would be almost disrespectful if we didn't get an opportunity to bring on this next caller. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very excited to talk to the general manager who's currently leading round 3 of the heated FWWC brand battle. A man hailing from the country just north of the good old US of A, Canada, the Heel Deal. Heel Deal. I got about 30 seconds for you, brother. Come in, talk your trash, and get on out of here because the FWWC segment needs to be closed out by somebody other than that despicable Marcus Mayhem.
The Heel Deal is here to give you exactly what you want, Night Owl. The Rise brand I told you, and I'll say it again, we have an army. No whiners, no complainers, just people ready to do the work. We've had a lot going on here in the FWWC, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but you can see that the other two brands, we can see the cracks. We can see the crumble. But at the end of the day, the Rise brand is still marching as one. And they're going to keep on marching all the way to the end. And when we get to the end, the heel deal is going to eat the best darn pie there ever was. That's right. Pumpkin. Boom, baby.
Oh, no! Why? It was such a good call until he said that. Why did he have to bust out the pumpkin pie? Heel deal. You were on your way to the best call in FWWC history, and then you said pumpkin pie. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you so much, members of the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, for calling in and keeping the energy high. Thank you, Heel Deal. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Marcus Mayhem, as hard as it is for me to say that, for calling in and representing even on an off week. Absolutely incredible. And I hate to admit this, and I know you're listening, Nightmare Jones, La Familia callers exclusively tonight. I think that hurts the arguments of the people that say that La Familia is lazy and that they don't do work. Because all the callers for the FWWC tonight, Jonesy, were members of La Familia, bro. You got to tell me, does that make you proud? Or should I be concerned that nobody else is calling in? Because I'm feeling kind of torn right now.
I mean, did you really expect anything less? I mean, it's La Familia. Of course you're not going to hear anybody from the Saviors of Funk calling in. You're not going to hear any of them calling in because they're too busy in the back getting stoned. You've got La Familia. Everybody hates on La Familia, and that's because they can't beat La Familia. Plain and simple, La Familia takes over the FWWC segment on the Wrestle Talk podcast every single week. The question is when is the Night Owl going to finally understand that and finally see La Familia for what they are and join La Familia?
No, don't do this.
Enough is enough, Nightmare Jones. You know why? Because it's time to move on to our second featured caller of the evening. By the way, make a note of that, Timmy. That clip is incomplete. We need to get the whole enough is enough clip. Please make a note of that so we can make that adjustment. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time to welcome back in. And you guys know, for those of you who watch the show every week, we don't just say this, okay? Night Owl and Nightmare Jones don't need to blow smoke up anybody's ass, okay? Tom Simon is without question one of our favorite guests ever. And now, over 300 episodes, we interview roughly 2 to 3 people per show. So I think at this point, we've talked to well over 350 people on the Wrestle Talk podcast, and it could be more. But Tom Simon, out of all those 650, always has great stories, and he's always willing to roll with the punches, which we really, really appreciate. So Nightmare Jones, why don't you do the honors of introducing a longtime member of the Wrestle Talk family, the one and only Tom Simon. Go ahead, Jonesy. Take it away.
Oh, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Simon is a guy that has, called into the podcast multiple times. He's the promoter of USA Championship Wrestling. He's been a referee. He's done just about everything. It's only fitting that we bring Tom Simon back in because the Wrestle Talk podcast absolutely loves Tom Simon. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, Tom Simon!
Yes. That's so
Telling you,
epic.
That reminded me of my times that I've gone to see WVU football and the marching band. So, Tom Simon, thank you for deciding to have us play that music.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Good evening, Jonesy. Good evening, Renee. It is absolutely great to be a part of Wrestle Talk one more time. How's everybody doing tonight?
It is an honor to actually have you on here once again, sir. So what has been new with USA Championship Wrestling?
Well, USA Championship Wrestling is actually back in business. They are doing shows every weekend around their regular circuit, Gladeville, Jackson. They have a brand new TV studio. I have backed away from the promotion somewhat because of the fact that I have had a number of other commitments over here in the great state of Arkansas, the natural state. And so Bert Prentice and Lucky P. Larson and Casey Gold are taking over, and they're doing a great job. Jerry Lawler is with USA Championship Wrestling this weekend. He does have a contract with WWE, but he is allowed to do these independent bookings. And speaking of independent bookings, I want to pat the heel Matthew Roblez on the back because he speaks the truth.
He's awesome.
He speaks absolute truth. When you talk about wrestling fans, the true wrestling fans are the ones that go out and support independent wrestling week in, week out, and absolutely pay their hard-earned money to go see the guys that may not be the best, the most polished guys in the business, but they are the ones who have their heart and soul in wrestling. It's to them, it's not sports entertainment. To them, it is professional wrestling, and professional wrestling is where independent wrestling belongs. We don't care about the glitz and the glamour and the lasers and everything else, although a few independent promotions do have some production value. The most important thing are the guys that walk through the curtain.
Absolutely. I
agree.
could not
100%.
agree more. So, speaking of USA Championship Wrestling, as I was looking up some of the information, one of the things that I saw was you had a match coming up with Danny Dollar against WWE's own James Ellsworth. Can you tell us about that match?
James Ellsworth is coming in for the weekend. He's going to be wrestling both nights, Friday and Saturday night in Tennessee. James has been a friend of the company, and James, of course, has his own promotion out on the East Coast. Before he was James Ellsworth, he was a promoter and had his own promotion.
Yes. I shared the locker room with James Ellsworth. Well, as I know him, Jimmy Dream.
Absolutely. We talked about a couple of things. USA Championship Wrestling, can't say enough good things about them. But enough about them. Let's talk about me. No. I'm actually looking at the broadcast on Facebook Watch, and I see a good friend of mine from St. Louis, Missouri, and you talk about independent wrestling. Keith Smith is in the house, so to speak, and Keith, between SICW and South Broadway Wrestling, Keith is just one of the great guys. His family goes way back in St. Louis independent wrestling with Larry Matisick and Sam Muchnick, and Eddie Smith was one of the great referees for the St. Louis Wrestling Club. Herb Simmons, good friend, is the promoter for SICW, and we were saddened this past month to say goodbye to the promoter of South Broadway Athletic Club, Tony Costa, and Little Dynamite was one of the great guys in independent wrestling, and he and her worked together so well. They shared talent. They shared, they just once a month you could always count on South Broadway doing a great show, and once a month you could always count on SICW, Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling, doing a great show. In fact, the last show I worked, I refereed for Herb Simmons last December. It was the Larry Madison Memorial Show. Of course, Larry, the voice of wrestling at the Chase for years and years and years, and the right-hand man of Sam Muchnick, long time president of National Wrestling Alliance. St. Louis was the home, so to speak, of the National Wrestling Alliance, because everybody who is anybody went through St. Louis and participated on the Friday night shows at Kiel Auditorium. Kiel Auditorium, one of my favorite places. It's now the Enterprise Center. It's been renovated a couple of times, but it's where I got my first exposure to professional sports. And you changed brands. Okay. Professional sports, as one of my first true bookings was not with wrestling. Mm-hmm. And you and Matthew Roblez were talking earlier.
Yeah.
About roller derby.
Yes.
Which, by the way, Tom, before you go into this story, let me say that roller derby and pro wrestling, Joe, have a very weird connection. Because, all right, so let me explain very quickly. So the very first venue to ever rent out our space, or to give us a space to rent out of, and by the way, I think one of us is on voice, on speakerphone, which is causing a reverb. So for a little bit of a reverb, Joe, if you can help me with that audio issue, I'm getting feedback. But anywho, so Rockstar Burgers. Sorry, guys, let me turn that down. So, Rockstar Burgers, the first place that we ever had a watch party, the owner, the place is now closed, the owner got in a bunch of trouble with the cops or whatever, but his girlfriend was a roller derby star in Kansas City. Then, we had Muckety Muck, who runs or is the MC for roller derby matches at a venue in St. Louis, was on with us just a couple of months ago. Then we had Matt Roblez just talk about his history with roller derby, and as we were listening to that story, Tom Simon, who happens to be kicking back a cold one himself, said, hey, ask me about roller derby. So I don't know what it is. Like, there's a correlation between, like, almost every other kind of sport and professional wrestling. And that goes to show you that every day we continue to creep closer towards wrestling being more mainstream. Because I think there's a lot of closet wrestling fans out there. And I don't know how roller derby and pro wrestling kind of have that tie, but they absolutely do. And I think it's amazing. Tom, go ahead and tell your story. I just wanted to share that because I think it's so cool when you start going through the nuances of some of the people that we talk to, and you come to find out how some of these things are tied together that you never would have thought would be tied together.
1975, the Midwest Thunderbirds were the home team, so to speak, for roller games and roller derby in the St. Louis area, the Midwest Thunderbirds. Of course, everybody else in the country knew them as the Los Angeles Thunderbirds, who always skated at the Olympic Auditorium. Richmond 95171 was the number for tickets, and I still remember that today. Don't ask me how, but I do. It was plastered up on the wall on the far end of the track. Anyway, I would go to roller derby on Sunday afternoons at the Kiel Auditorium, and I was friends with the scoreboard operator at the keel, so I got to sit at the table right next to the track. The guy the scoreboard operator's position was a union position, but he could care squat about doing that. He just knew he was getting his union wage and operating the scoreboard. So I would sit there and keep score and tell him how many points to put up for the visitors, how many to put up for the home team, and when to start and stop the clock. Well, one Sunday, by the way, the announcer, the trackside announcer at the time, was a guy out of Chicago by the name of Chet Kopic. Now, Chet Kopic was one of the 3 play-by-play guys at WrestleMania 2.
Wow.
He was the play-by-play guy in Chicago. And Chet also worked for Roller Derby. He was the TV voice of the Thunderbirds in the Midwest when they had all of their syndicated shows between St. Louis and Chicago, Memphis, Louisville, Hammond, Indiana, no matter where it was, when they did TV, Chet was the play-by-play person. So on Sunday, I'm sitting there with the scoreboard guy, and Chet Kopic doesn't come out. One guy comes out, and he's kind of a skinny guy, and he started talking on the mic, and he had this Australian accent. And the Thunderbirds happened to be skating against the Australian Kangaroos at the time. And, of course, the Thunderbirds were the good guys, baby faces through and through. So the guy that I was sitting next to, his name was Pete Kelly, who was a massive heel skater with the Australian Kangaroos. He's truly from Australia, but he spoke in a very soft tone. And if you've ever been to a roller derby game back in the 70s, you know that the trackside announcer is the one that yells, go, 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 and gets the crowd up and works the crowd to a frenzy every single game. Well, in the first half, it's like crickets. Absolute crickets. You could hear a cricket. Nobody's into the game, and the skaters are working their asses off, really skating hard. But there's nothing there. And I lean over and I talk to whisper in Pete's ear. I said, "You're not enjoying this, are you?" He goes, "No, not at all." I said, "Why are you out here?" He says, "Because I'm injured, and I had to do something during the game. So they sent me out here since Chet wasn't here." I said, "Well, would you like some help?" And he goes and hands me the mic. Doesn't even say yes, just hands me the mic. Well, I've been to enough games to where I pretty well know how to work a crowd. I am absolutely working the crowd. First half, and at the end of the first half, the Thunderbirds score points and they take the lead going into at the end of the first half. So I'm sitting there with a soda talking to the scoreboard guy while everybody goes off the track, and it's halftime, so nothing's going on. Normally they'd be pushing the the next game coming up and everything else. All of a sudden, Pete comes back down and says, "Come with me." So I go back up towards the dressing room. I take one step inside the backstage area, and Jess Adams, who is one of the big managers in the roller derby, looks at me and says, "Who told you you could talk on my microphone?" And I go, "Well, to be perfectly honest, the crowd was dying, and nobody was enjoying it. And Pete certainly wasn't enjoying it. I thought I'd help out." He says, "Well, all right, go on back out there and do the second half." I said, "Cool." So I go out back down there, do the second half. He says, "But come back and see me afterwards." So I do the second half. It's a great game. Thunderbirds win. And the best part of it all was I go back. I hadn't met any of the skaters or anything else. But when I get back there, Jess Adams asked me, he said, "Are you doing anything next Sunday?" I said, "Well, no, I was going to come to the game." He says, "Okay, do you want to announce again? And I said, I'd love to. He says, all right. Now, I'm not promising you anything, but some of the other people are going to be here. Just you come and do the game and work the crowd like you did this time. We'll talk again. So I go home and I'm in seventh heaven.
Hell yeah.
For the Thunderbirds.
That was like an impromptu job interview that you nailed. That's that's amazing.
In all reality, it was. And the best part about it was John Hall, who was the general manager of the Thunderbirds and the Midwest tour manager, had taken the week off. And yet, I get back there, show up about 45 minutes before the games, get the lineup, start working the crowd, and reminding them that at halftime there's a big match race, blah blah blah. And so at halftime, I get called back to the back again, and John Hall's back there. He says, "Look, I got to be honest with you. Check quit on us. He just bailed, and I'm looking for an announcer right now."
Wow.
He said, "I can." We're in Chicago every Friday night. We go out in the outer regions, Louisville, Hammond, Indiana, Memphis, Cincinnati. We go all over the Midwest on Saturday, and then we finish up in St. Louis on Sunday. So would you be interested in doing this? Can't give you a lot of money, but we can put you up in a hotel. I'll give you some money for gas and $25 a game. And this was in 1975. So $25 a game was like buku bucks for me. So for a year and a half, I was the trackside announcer for the Midwest Thunderbirds. And we'd go up to Chicago every Thursday night. I'd drive up. We'd have the game in Chicago on Friday. We'd go out on the road on Saturday. And on Sunday, we'd go back to St. Louis. And then after the game, I would take the Los Angeles skaters back to the airport in St. Louis because they would fly out to Los Angeles for the week and then fly back in on Friday into Chicago. One of the most quiet and unassuming young ladies that I had ever met in my life was an Olympic medalist, and her name was Earlene Brown. Now, some people might not know who Earlene Brown was, but she was an Olympic shot putter. She weighed in the neighborhood of 350 pounds, and that's a pretty damn big neighborhood. But she was the most quiet, unassuming person you'd ever want to meet in your life off the track. One time we flew back from Chicago together because we had a short week, and we sat together in the plane, and she was just so quiet and unassuming, very genteel, and I loved Earlene Brown because she was unbelievable. So I got to meet my last tour with roller derby was a 45-day, 15,000-mile county fair tour with lady skaters. I was one of 3 guys on the tour. One of them was a skating bear, a guy in a bear costume.
Nice.
Second guy was the semi driver, and the third guy was me. And so 45 days, 15,000 miles, and that was right before I got married the first time. So it was, if I'd have been smart, I'd have stayed out on the road.
You hear that, Joe? That's good stuff.
That's the roller derby story.
Dude, that's so sick.
That is a awesome story. All right, Renee, I'm sure that you have questions, so go ahead and answer whatever questions that you have, sir.
Dude, absolutely. And again, Tom, thank you so much. For those that are just now tuning in, I want to remind you, hitting that like button, that share button is real important for the morale of the show, but also for exposure. So make sure you guys are doing that if you're tuning in. The other thing I wanted to hit on was how great is it that we can catch Tom Simon 8 to 12 months down the road, and it almost feels like we're just now scratching the surface and getting to know you. This is actually, believe it or not, the third time that you've been on the show, and it's like we've talked about something different, but it feels very familiar every time, which just goes to show that your experience and your just humble personality shines through every time, Tom. I just want to make sure I say that before we get too deep into some of my questions.
Renee, I do appreciate it. You know, I love this show. I love coming on the show every time. I'm going for my 5-timers blazer, though.
All right. Well, we better start working on that blazer. We haven't, I don't think we've even conceptualized that yet. But I'll tell you what, for anybody who's a professional wrestling fan and can't believe that there's a future in it, whether you're a competitor or a promoter or a referee, you just have to be willing to evolve. And I think that is like a testament to your career. Because when I hear you talk, a bunch of great stories along the way, but it feels like your career has been a constant evolution, Tom. And I'm curious, what in your background can you attribute to giving you that skill? It's like you're a chameleon. You refereed, and you've been a promoter, and you sit on boards, and you're a commentator, and you've done all these different things. How could you potentially take your experiences, you know, talk about how you were influenced to be able to have that sort of flexibility, and how someone might take your story and use it as inspiration moving forward? I know that's a loaded one, but it's awesome. I just hear you talk, and I hear a guy that's never lost his passion. You've always found a way to fit in. And honestly, I think more people need to be adaptable the same way you have been over your illustrious career.
It's sometimes it's not easy to be that flexible or that adaptable. But when I was in high school and college, I worked for the campus radio stations, both of them. I was a disc jockey, and I did some sports broadcasting as well. For the Eastern Illinois University Panthers, I did basketball and baseball and soccer. The only thing I didn't do was football, because that music that you heard when I came on,
yeah,
that was the Eastern Illinois University Marching Panther Band, and I was a member of that band when I was in school, because I was a music education major. I wanted to be a music teacher. That never quite worked out, but I played in the marching band. So during football, somebody else did the broadcast, like Matthew does now. He does University of Utah football for the ESPN station out in wherever the University of Utah is. He does color commentary for him.
He does.
So Matthew and I get together every once in a while, especially at CAC. We'll talk about CAC before I leave also, because I've got a deal for you guys. When I was in college, I did radio. I was also a musician. I play in bands on the weekends. So I was used to being on the stage in front of people. Of course, they were enjoying the music, not sports, but it developed my chops as far as appearing in front of audiences. When I started with the roller derby, 1975, if you think about that, I doubt if any of you were born then.
Wait, time out.
But that
Tom, I was negative 9 years old in 1975.
Okay.
Negative 9 years old.
45 years I have been in the business in one manner or another. And that's just from starting with roller derby. And then a good friend of mine from St. Louis owns a bar, Murphy's on 21 in St. Louis. Steve Murphy was a promoter, local promoter. He had a wrestling hotline, so to speak, that was sponsored by the newspaper in St. Louis. It was called Postline. And Blackjack Brown, was the announcer that did the national news, and option 2 of the hotline was the Mississippi Valley Wrestling Alliance Pro Report. And they would talk about local shows, and they'd also talk about, the national wrestling scene as well. So one time he said, we're looking for talent, and we're going to have tryouts on this Saturday afternoon at Occasions in St. Louis, in Lime. So if you're interested in being in professional wrestling, come on out. Well, I had refereed high school sports for years, so I had black pants, referee shirt, black shoes, and I thought I could do a pretty good job, especially after being in roller derby. I knew part of the business that he was looking for. So he asked me, he says, do you have any experience refereeing? I said, well, I've refereed this, and this, and I've watched so much wrestling in my lifetime, I think I could do a good job. So he threw me in the ring with a couple of his regular wrestlers and had me referee a match. This was in the afternoon. So he watched me work, in fact, one of the wrestlers, I believe, was none other than the Techno Kid.
Luke Roberts.
Knows who the Techno Kid is. Well, you might know who the Techno Kid is.
Oh, we all know who the Techno Kid is.
None other than Luke Roberts, and he was one of
my
the
brother
wrestlers in my audition match for MVWA.
Wow.
So I worked with Steve Murphy. I had broadcast experience, so I would produce segments of the show and interviews and things like that. And every Tuesday night, this was when I was separated, getting ready for my divorce, Murph and I were roommates. So every Tuesday night, we would set up a backdrop in the living room, set up a camera. All the guys would come over and do their drop-ins for the cable access wrestling show that we had every week on Charter cable in St. Louis. And they'd come over. We'd have this huge 3/4-inch recorder, and everybody would do their interviews and set up for I hear that beer. Do the interviews for the upcoming card at Occasions, because we do live cards every 3 weeks or so. And so that's where I got deeper into the wrestling business, and was in the wrestling business off and on for the next 25 years. I'm still have my hands in it today. And every year I go out to Cauliflower Alley Club on Sunday and Monday nights. We have shows where wrestlers from all over the country come in and do matches. It's like a talent showcase, so to speak. We've had a lot of great wrestlers. Sin Bodie's been in there. Jody Christopherson was one of my favorites, the War Hog. Now, I don't know if the name sounds familiar, but his dad is Chris Christopherson, one of the Highwaymen. And
yes.
I got to meet him. We've had Jushin Thunder Liger on the show. Of course, no matter where you go, all of these wrestlers at CAC are coming together because of the brotherhood, because of the ring of friendship, so to speak. I have been going to CAC for the past 12 years. I've got to tell you guys, and I told this to Lucky P. Larson 2 years ago. I said, you will never have the opportunity to meet more people who have made a difference in your life, who have made an impact in your life, than you will coming to CAC. Because you will see guys there. Last year, one of the headliners at the banquet, one of the award winners, Mark Henry.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Gave a compelling speech. And to this day, I still love Mark Henry. I get to listen to him 3 days a week on Sirius XM. But These are the people that you get to see if you go to Vegas. Now, unfortunately, this year, because of COVID-19, the reunion, Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, was postponed. It wasn't canceled because they were hopeful to be able to get things together and things would subside. As it stands right now, the Gold Coast Hotel and Casino, which is the host for CAC, is open again. It is back open. And on September, now we'll talk about the show first. The two shows that are put on by Vendetta Pro Wrestling, Billy Blade does a great job every year getting it all together. Sparky Ballard and the Ballard and just a bunch of guys from the West Coast bring their equipment. They drive their stuff from the West Coast, from LA, and bring it to Vegas, set it up in the ballroom. On the 20th and 21st of September, those are the two dates for the shows. CAC actually starts on the 21st and it runs through the 23rd. The big banquet is the night of the 23rd. That's when the big awards are given out. I will be staying in Vegas for 2 weeks, however, and the reason for that is not only after CAC is done, I will be moving from the Gold Coast to Samstown Hotel and Casino because on the 26th, there's another reunion that begins. And that reunion is the annual roller derby reunion.
Wow.
And I have received an invitation to join all the guys that I used to work with and all the gals I used to work with at Samstown, and we'll spend 4 days out there. In fact, there's a skater in Las Vegas who has a track, and she sets up this big track outside in her yard. And everybody brings their skates, and they all skate, and they barbecue and everything else. Tom Lastra, referee from the Los Angeles area, who refereed a lot of T-Bird games and a lot of wrestling in Los Angeles, is one of the guys. Dave Martinez, who is the son-in-law of Ralphie Valadares, and his mother-in-law, Honey Sanchez, was the wife of Ralphie Valadares, the Guatemalan Flyer. All those guys come over to CAC every year. And they knew that I had worked in roller derby. So one year they said, well, we always run the same time. If you can come by for a couple hours and see some of the skaters, that's fine. Usually I'm tied up with seminars and everything at CAC. Well, this year, the reunions are staggered. The roller derby reunion is 1 week later than CAC. So I'm staying for 2 weeks, and I get to go to both reunions. And I'm tickled to death for it.
Are you trying to make us jealous, Tom? That's what I'm getting. I'm getting those vibes right now, Joe.
Look, you really, if you don't take advantage of this opportunity, you will hate yourself because you have no idea. Renee, if you look on my Facebook page, you will see over the years everybody that I've had the opportunity to take a picture with. And guess what? You're not everybody that's in the business started out as a fan. Everybody. I don't care who you are.
That's fair.
You were Rocky Johnson's little boy, and you were sitting in the dressing room while Dad was out there in the ring, but got the itch, got the bug. Everybody who's in the business started out as a fan. You don't go into the business without having some affection for it beforehand. And I'm going to tell you right now,
I agree.
One of the biggest fans out there. My last show with TCW Wrestling in the main event was none other than Tommy Dreamer.
Wow, look at that. Full circle. We were just talking to Matt Roblez about Tommy Dreamer. That's incredible that you bring that back up.
I was listening.
That's awesome.
Of course, he's had more times to work with Tommy than I did, but the last show with TCW in Fort Smith, Arkansas, was Tommy Dreamer was in the main event on the show, and unbelievable. He of course he insisted on wearing his House of Hardcore shirt there as well, and nobody cared. It didn't matter.
No. Why would it?
Because
that man's earned his place.
There.
He's earned his.
Matt Hardy's worked for TCW. All the guys that I worked with, unbelievable.
Well,
I've been blessed.
Tom, you really you
say, well,
I apologize.
How
I was gonna say you are truly blessed. The experiences that you've had and the fact that you're willing to share them with us, it's incredible. But go ahead and finish, man.
Well, not only the opportunities, but the memories. I can look back now and look at the pictures and everything that's happened in my life. I am truly blessed because where could a kid from Collinsville, Illinois, grow up and have the opportunities to rub elbows with so many people who mean so much to everybody else in the business? Roddy Piper, Mick Foley. These are all guys that I met at CAC. Dr. Beth David Schultz. Somebody mentioned him earlier on the show. I guess Matthew mentioned because he was a guest on the CAC podcast. But he was there last year. Got an opportunity to get a picture with him. Jim Ross. Jim Ross's lovely wife, Jan. God rest her soul. I had the opportunity every year to talk to Jan Ross because she was bored and I was bored, and she was sitting next to Jim, and Jim was talking to Tony Gurria and all the other agents from WWE. And so I'm sitting there with Jan, and Jan tells me how they met. And, we talk back and forth. And, after the third or fourth year, it was great because that was one of the conversations I look forward to having every year. And it was truly sad when she passed away, and I know how much that affected Jim because he didn't go anywhere without her, really. She accompanied him everywhere and was his support system. And, I love Jim Ross to this day. Everybody says, well, he's gotten a little too big for his britches. I said, no. He's earned every bit.
Every inch.
Now.
Every inch. Absolutely.
And he has been the MC for Cauliflower Alley for years. And the one thing that he said years ago that struck home, and I said, yeah, this is absolutely correct. He says, you sitting here, and this was in the big banquet, there's 500, 600 people at this banquet. He says, you're sitting here and you're part of this business. He says, and if you're not a member of CAC, why not? Why aren't you? You're in this business. CAC helps people that are down in this business. If you're not a member, why not? How can you come here and with a clear conscience take in all that we offer and you're not a member?
Well,
so as a result, that put a little boost in there of the membership.
Well,
here year that I picked up my lifetime membership, by the way.
And here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say about the membership, which is why yours truly has made the decision that I'm going to sign up and become a lifetime member of the CAC. So there's a lot of worthwhile organizations, and if you donate money in any capacity, whether it be to your church, the guys that sit outside and ring the bell at Walmart during the holidays, or the CAC, giving back is always positive because we do live in the greatest country on God's green earth. And you guys know we play that Carl Lewis bit at the beginning of every single show. And we like to have fun with it, but truly, we're both grateful. Joe and I come from very different backgrounds, but we're both very, very happy to be Americans. Regardless of what may be going on within our borders, I'd still rather be here than anywhere else in the whole wide world. And I'll tell you what, Tom, this country has afforded us with so many beautiful things, like being able to give back. And if you love professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, the CAC has a $25 a year membership where every single dollar of those $25 go to help wrestlers of yesteryear pay for their medical bills, pay for housing, pay for prescriptions, pay for surgeries. the Terry Funks of the world, the guys who helped make pro wrestling famous, that having become millionaires in the business, they need our help. So if you love this business, much like we were talking about with Matt Roblez, if you love this business, why aren't you going to independent shows? If you love this business and you like to give charitable donations, okay, why not make it to CAC? Because you know what? Not only is it a charitable donation, okay, you also get to attend the most legitimate Hall of Fame in pro wrestling today. And I say that boldly because the WWE Hall of Fame, no disrespect, they only induct WWE superstars, okay? On very rare occasion do they ever bring someone into the Hall of Fame that didn't actually wrestle for them, or is it a company that they don't actually own, okay? The CAC recognizes professional wrestlers from all walks of life. Many people from my native country, Mexico, have received awards and been inducted into the CAC Hall of Fame, something they could never be able to do in the WWE. So a lifetime membership is...
And guess...
Go ahead.
Renee.
Yes, sir.
And the awardee this year, the Mike Mazurki Award this year, which is the big one. That's the one Mark Henry got last year. The awardee this year, Rey Mysterio.
Booyaka, booyaka!
Junior. Yeah.
Rey Mysterio Jr. Exactly, man.
Night.
Great timing on that, Tom. Great timing.
He will be there Wednesday night, and I mean, you have to spend $50 to see him in an arena, and you're 10,000 feet away. You're going to get to sit probably 5 or 6 tables away from him because the WWE gets 2 tables every year, regardless of how many people they bring in. But there's always Ricky Steamboat, there's always Tony Gurria, there's always Pat Patterson. You know, all the guys that have been with the organization for years and years and years, they all come in. The awardees, you know, a couple of years ago, it was Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, you know, DX, they were there. You know, they always bring guys in every year. So you're gonna have a chance during the 4 cocktails. You know, they have a strict rule about autographs during the banquet, but you have plenty of other opportunities during the whole week to see these guys. You know, they don't just fly in on Wednesday night, do their hour at the banquet, and then take off. You know, a lot of these guys come in because they know not only you don't have to be a wrestler, you don't have to be in the business to join CAC. If you are a fan of wrestling, and there are a lot of fans that come to these, but they are welcomed because, frankly, their money's just as good as everybody else's when it comes to dues for the club. There is also a nostalgia room that has a lot of vendors that are there, and you can pick up some pretty sweet deals. Guys who have written books during the year, they'll sit there and they'll you know, sell their book and autograph it. I've got a pretty good library from guys that have been.
Whoa, wait a second, Tom. Tom, I do. You know what? You said authors, and I have to show some love here real quick to Ben Oliver, who is a big part of Wrestling Bookmarks COVID Con. You know, Greg is revamped his website. I think it's slamwrestling.net. So yeah, big shout out to Greg Oliver.
Greg's there every year at CAC. You know, I've met Greg a number of years ago. Kerry Williams is another one of the writers that's writing for Slam Wrestling now. Pat LaPrade, a great author in Canada. The Canadian delegation is definitely represented there every year at CAC. You know, Greg is there. In fact, he was one of the co-hosts for what used to be called the Baloney Blowout on Tuesday night. It was changed to the Bockwinkel Blowout after Nick passed away. I think it's shifting back to Baloney Blowout. But does anybody know where that came from?
No, where did the Baloney Blowout come from? That sounds awesome.
It's a great trivia question. Guys in the old days would sit in a dressing room afterwards, after a show, the promoter would come in with a big slab of bologna and a loaf of bread, and guys would sit there and eat bologna sandwiches while they were getting dressed and things like that. So that was part of the pay back then.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I mean, we're talking about wrestlers in the 50s.
What's wrong with that?
I like nothing wrong with
I love bologna.
Nowadays, on Tuesday night, they had the bologna blowout, but it's not just bologna. It's roast beef and ham and bologna and a lot of cheeses and desserts and, potato salad, coleslaw, blah, blah, blah. But, those are included when you go to the CAC reunion. The bologna blowout on Tuesday night and the banquet on Wednesday night are included in I believe it's $125. That also pays for your membership for that year. If you are a lifetime member, there's a little different financial thing for the week, but you get fellowship and you get membership and you get to see these guys. Ricky Santana, every year I see him.
Ricky Santana, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, not Tito, but, Ricky. Mondo Guerrero. My first year, I had a picture taken with Mondo Guerrero, Ricky Santana, the Raging Bull Manny Fernandez, and me in a picture together. And, I love wrestling. I love wrestlers. These guys come every year, and they just talk wrestling. There are a number of seminars on how to promote yourself in the business, and a number of different subjects.
CAC guys.
Ron Hutchinson is in charge of the seminars. Now, that name may be familiar to some of you out there. Ron Hutchinson is, in fact, the guy who trained Edge, Christian, Trish Stratus, and all of the Toronto kids. Ron
That's amazing.
was the trainer in Canada other than the Hearts. I mean, you were either trained by the Hearts or you were trained by Ron Hutchinson. And Ron's there every year. Pleasant guy. Will take time to talk to you. I love Ron anyway. But
hey, by the way, Tom, by the way, the Chief, who was spectating during Matt Roblez' interview, said that he'd buy me a beer if I came out to the CAC. So I feel even more incentivized to go out there now. That sounds good enough to me. It sounds like a good time. And you know what? September in Vegas doesn't sound all that bad. Jonesy, I know you're planning on coming out for SummerSlam, man, but the CAC was also in the cards for you this year before COVID-19. Bro, you became a member this year. Just very briefly, tell us why it's important to you to be a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Oh, it's simple. I've been a wrestling fan ever since I was a kid, and the Cauliflower Alley Club is something that is huge in the wrestling community, and to be able to be a part of this is absolutely amazing. I was going to go down for my first ever Cauliflower Alley Club, but then because of COVID-19, it got postponed, and now I'm not going to be able to go. But I'm definitely planning on going to the next one that they have. I'm going to be there so that I can celebrate with all of my wrestling friends and meet new friends, and it's going to be absolutely awesome.
You hear that, Tom? You got everybody excited about it, man.
Yeah, hey, Jonesy, I'm going to hold you to it, brother. And just as a traveler's tip, TGI Fridays in the Gold Coast is the place to be after the shows, after the banquets and after the wrestling shows. But on Tuesday night, after the Bologna Blowout, every year they have the it's a strut off. It's a Jackie Fargo, Larry Sweetie, Texarkana strut off. And you have two people, and they go down the gauntlet and strut. And if you remember Jackie Fargo, he strutted that strut before Ric Flair did.
Yes.
Google Jackie Fargo and Google the Fargo strut. And you will see.
I want to strut, Joe.
Midnight on Tuesday night.
Joe, I want to
And
strut.
I just sit back. Oh, you can strut.
I want to strut.
Absolutely.
I want to strut.
I'll hook you up with a partner while you're out there. Of course, it's better if the partner is female, because then you can be more creative than ever.
Woo!
It's not your grandmother's strut off now. You've got to be creative, and they have 4 or 5 rounds, and eliminate. But guys, there are guys that work all year long working on choreography for this strut off. It's one of the things. It's just an ancillary thing, but they have that in the sports bar in the Gold Coast. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, sign me up.
Renee, I already got it. How you can win? I will let you use one of my championship belts. You can wear a pair of sunglasses and a Speedo, and you would win.
Bro, let me tell you something. Me in a Speedo would get me disqualified. I guarantee it. Well, listen, gentlemen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we have to close out tonight's episode. And we have a Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge to get through, so we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to do the Game Show Challenge, and it's going to be sudden death. There will only be one question. Whichever one of you men answers this question correctly will be the winner of tonight's Game Show Challenge. That's how it's going to work. That's right. Which one of you guys is going to chicken out? If you're going to chicken out, do it now.
No. I'm in.
Jonesy?
I'm in. But man, freaking special.
Let's go, baby. There's only one way to do it, and that's to do it. Intern Timmy, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that music as we close out tonight's show with the latest installment of the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
Well, that was quick.
Here we go. Let's close it out. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's installment of the world-famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Our contestants, are Joe Lance and Tom Simon. In a few moments, I will be asking you one question about a particular professional wrestling topic. Whenever you think you know the answer, simply shout it out. The first person to shout out your answer will be the winner of tonight's Game Show Challenge. You gentlemen understand the rules?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In honor of today's guest, Tom Simon, the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge category is titled Famous Professional Wrestling Announcers. I will give you information about one famous professional wrestling announcer. When you think you know the answer, and you know who I'm talking about, simply shout it out. The first person to answer will be the winner. Again, are you gentlemen clear on the rules?
Yes.
All right. Again, as soon as you think you know the answer, shout it out. This late professional wrestling announcer was a member of the 2009 class of the WWE Hall of Fame. He was a 40-year employee of the WWF.
Howard Finkel.
Howard Finkel is correct, ladies and gentlemen. We have a winner. The voice of professional wrestling in the Midwest, the one and only Tom Simon. Intern Timmy, hit that victory music. Timmy, I want music, and I want it now. Play the music, Timmy. Congratulations, Tom Simon. You are now, sir, officially 3-1 on the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. No, I'm sorry, 2-1. One of the episodes you didn't compete in the challenge, so you're 2-1. Congratulations, sir. How do you feel about defeating Nightmare Jones tonight in the trivia challenge? Speech.
I'll tell you what, it was a tough one, but after you said the Hall of Fame and the 40-year career as an employee of the WWE, it couldn't have been anybody but Howard. Although I must tell you that one of my friends at CAC last year was none other than Mike McGurk. And if you know who Mike McGurk is, then you know your wrestling.
Well, Tom.
But guys, I want to thank everybody for for letting me ramble. As always,
it was a blast.
Pleasure every time you invite me. I hope I never ever overstay my welcome. But anytime you need me, brother, all you got to do is call.
Well, listen, Tom, there's only two things I personally need from you. Number one, you need to promise us that you'll never be a stranger to the show, that you'll come back and do this with us again. And then, you know what? This is a great question because on WWE Backlash, they did such an incredible job. You can say what you want about Randy Orton, St. Louis native, and I know you're proud of that, Tom. You can say whatever you want about the match, but they did an amazing job in the presentation of it by paying homage to Howard Finkel by dropping the Madison Square Garden logo and the microphones in the middle of the ring. If you didn't see that, go back and watch it. I know WWE doesn't get everything right, but they absolutely got that right in paying homage to Howard Finkel. And the fact that that was our one question tonight, I think, brings everything absolutely full circle. Tom, we love you. Joe, I know you want to say goodnight. Go ahead and do that. But again, from me personally, Tom, you are the man, and I cannot wait to talk to you again.
Thank you, Renee. I hope to see you soon at CAC.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
It's been absolutely awesome, Tom. You are absolutely amazing. It's always fun having you on. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come onto the podcast tonight. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, guys. It's always fun, and it keeps my memory sharp.
And you know what? And your trash talking is as good as ever, Tom. As long as you can talk some trash, you're always welcome on the Wrestle Talk podcast, man.
Yeah.
Love it. That does it, ladies and gentlemen.
There's some good competition.
Oh, wait a minute. Tom, go ahead and finish saying what you were about to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's getting to be some more and more competition in the trash talking category, but I pay attention and I learn.
We love it.
Guys.
Tom, we love you to death, man. You be safe out there. We're looking forward to it. And you know what, Jonesy? I could not be any happier with tonight's episode, dude. It was absolutely fantastic. The only thing that keeps coming back to me are those haters, bro. The people, whenever you did your video about your championships, they wanted to bring up belts that weren't in your video. And I'm like, why can't y'all just be happy for what the man has? And when you're talking about trash talking, I don't think there's anybody better to sum up tonight's episode than the legendary Iron Sheik, who today happened to tweet, F the new normal. That was his tweet today, Joe, and I couldn't agree anymore. So why don't you go ahead and close us out? I'll hit the drop, you hit the music, and we'll close out episode 302 of the Wrestle Talk podcast, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, man, it's just, wow, episode 302. Who would have thought we would have been to episode 302? But it's been absolutely amazing. Each and every single one of you are amazing. We appreciate your support. You guys are awesome. Shout out to all of our supporters, all of our, anybody that has anything to do with the Wrestle Talk podcast. You guys are absolutely amazing. All of our sponsors, man, just wow. Thank you.
Thank you. And big shout out once again to Interstate 70 Sports Media for being our newest sponsors. I'm going to hit the chic. Jonesy's going to hit the music. We are out of here tonight. We'll catch y'all next week, Tuesday, at WrestleTalkPodcast.com.
Fucking bullshit!
We done, baby. Let's go. Hit the music. Turn it up, Jonesy.
Walking arenas, I'm shutting it down and I'm raising the bar. Y'all look like the kind that get lost in the shuffle just playing the part. I belong in the light. Y'all can just stay in the dark. Funny how every time they know who
Get you a mug, suckers. $20 plus shipping. Get your name put on it. Hit us up. Y'all already know.
Music drops, everybody put their hands up like their nay-nay. Y'all know just what they say.
Adam Cole, baby.
They will not leave any doubt in your mind. This is the moment that they waited to have. So knock you out with a punch of a kick of a little bit of both combo with a dab. I am Robbie with the flow. I am Bobby when I'm bold. I'm a Robbie with the gold. Every title I'm a hold. Era this our time, you better recognize. My lyrics bring the house down, but a record live. I keep moving, I can prove it. Let me show you how I do this. Can't refute it, I ain't losing. This flow is undisputed. Boom. Yeah.